Finally, the horns have come back to YouTube. Here it is. Here's the video review for... I get that one out of the way. What are you doing there? You're not supposed to be in frame yet. Anyway, Robots in Disguise Cliffjumper. Prime Cliffjumper. It is... he's a red muscle car. He's got a hole over here that he didn't have before. And a lot of people have been kind of down on this one. I gotta say, having him in hand and playing with him, I'm really bullish on this guy. I really like this guy a lot more than I thought I did. Maybe even more than the first edition. And, like I said, they both have their pluses and minuses, and we'll go over several of them throughout the course of this review. So, here he is, and if you compare him to the first edition, he's not much smaller. He is a little smaller in vehicle mode than his first edition self. Now, a lot of people were saying this one looks better, and really, honestly, I don't think there's that many more paint apps on the first edition versus the Prime one. He's got the same. He doesn't have the little Autobot logo, but it's not even molded on, so it's not like it's missing. But he's got the same silver exhaust pipes, silver wheel rims. On the back, he even has more paint apps, because on this one, he's got silver on the back versus silver and black here on the rear. And he's even got the same amount of, like, even more paint on the front, because he's got the headlights painted blue as opposed to just using the clear plastic here, and a silver grille. So yeah, really paint-wise, there may even be more paint apps on this one than this one. The only place that has paint on here that he doesn't on here is these window pieces, because the window it's a fake chest inside here, which again we'll get to later on. But the clear plastic's a separate piece from the red. You don't have to paint it like this one. And even you can kind of see that, like, that's kind of a benefit, because this one you can kind of see how this piece, just due to the thickness of the paint, is actually a little darker than this side, so it doesn't match up. And plus you can see there's kind of a little chip here in the paint, just due to transformation. So there's definitely pluses on the Robots in Disguise version. And also part of it, I think, too, is this one looks a little better just because, one, the horns are slightly darker gray, and the windows are tinted blue versus the clear here, and that kind of hides some of the support structure pieces behind there. So this one looks good. But this one's actually, the plastic on this one's actually a much deeper red, a much more vibrant red. It matches more up with Windcharger. And is a really nice looking color. Like I said, I think there are some distinct advantages to the Robots in Disguise version, as well as the fact that aside from this peg hole here for the gun or the hammer, much more seam-free top of the car, especially here in the windshield area. It just looks more coherent as a vehicle. Not quite as many panel lines. I don't know why this one's actually showing up as darker red than him, but he really is a much more richer red. And then just to compare it, now I've seen a lot of shots of, oh look, here he is with Windcharger, he's barely bigger than a Scout. Well, one, a lot of the pictures show him at like this angle, where he does look about the same size as a Scout, but if you look at it from the top, you can see that Cliffjumper actually is a much larger vehicle. And you also got to remember that Windcharger does have a fairly, he's very flat, squat and flat and wide, much like Cliffcharger's vehicle mode, or Cliffjumper's vehicle mode. He actually has a fairly largish in area vehicle mode for a Scout. So I think it's a little unfair to say he's barely bigger than a Scout when he is actually quite a bit bigger than Windcharger. It's just like I said, when you put him like that, yeah, it looks like he's barely bigger. But when you actually put them together and look at him, he is a little smaller than his first edition counterpart. Not much, and he is a little small for a Deluxe. But again, he's definitely bigger than a Scout. So yeah, there's my comparisons with robot mode. And we'll go ahead and get things started, and we'll go on to a transformation to robot mode. So to get him into robot mode, we're going to start off back here. And one of the things I forgot to show off is, and I've already transformed Cliffjumper into robot mode, is underneath the car is very different. In the first edition Cliffjumper, the head's in roughly the same place, slightly different position, but roughly in the middle of the body. But the front becomes the legs, and the rear becomes the arms on the first edition. And it's actually completely flipped around here on the Robots in Disguise, which brings up another point of why I like Transformers in general, and multiple versions of characters as well, is because, like, just seeing the different ways in which they make one thing it's essentially the same car mode. Granted, obviously it's laid out differently, but it's the same car turns into the same character by two completely different processes, and I think that's really neat. That's one of the things that always fascinate me about Transformers is how they get it to go from one mode to the other. Even things as wildly, like Optimus Primal springs to mind, where they turn a monkey into a humanoid robot. And, monkeys and humans, certainly they move around a lot differently, but from the just position of changing one into the other, without getting in, I'm not getting into any evolutionary debates or anything like that, but not a real difficult thing to imagine a monkey turning into a humanoid form. And yet, with Beast Wars, they found like 5 or 6 different ways to do it. So, that's something really cool. Anyway, to get a little sidetrack rant over, you're going to go ahead and pop this out, lift this trunk up. And basically, you're going to lift this trunk up on this hinge and set it right up there, just like that. And then you're going to do the same thing with the next piece up. It takes a look at, you just go lift that up and slide it forward up over the hood of the car. So you kind of got a double stack going on there. And then you're going to want to flip the legs down like this. And you see they are hollow the way they fold up. And there is a fake wheel here on the back of the leg, which you could paint black and silver to look like a real wheel. But that's up to you. And then flip the feet down and rotate them. Just like that. And then rotate this outer piece around. And that's the legs done with. Then you want to go ahead and right here at the waist, spin him around. Now he does have a waist swivel there, but it does not pop out like the previous one does. So you can't replicate the Terracon slicing in half there. I'll go ahead and lift the camera up a little bit for the upper body here. And for the upper body, you want to go ahead and pull. The instructions say to lift this up first. I find it's easier if you just kind of pull the arms out a little bit. And then you can take this piece, flip it up. And this horn piece is on a pivot. I'm not entirely sure why, because when you transform it, you want it to be in the normal car position, because there's a little tab here on it that pegs into a little peg hole right under here. I can't really see it, but basically you flip this up, and then this piece pegs in right over that peg hole. I guess it does rotate a little bit, but just like that. It's not super sturdy connection, but these pieces are tight enough that it's probably not going to be an issue anyway. So then the arms, I'm going to kind of bring them forward, and when you bring the shoulders down, his head pops up. His head's kind of hidden there in his chest, and then there's some gears in the back that pop his head up. So you want to lift up the front wheel lights of the car, bring that down, and then right here at this, and again, a lot of pictures showed this all washed out, but there are in fact a couple different shades of gray. There's some silver paint here, some dark silver paint here, a dark gray for the crotch and the upper shoulder, and then a lighter gray in the lower shoulder and for the ankles, and then like some dark silver paint, and then again the darker gray here for the hands. So there is some variety in the gray on this figure, and a lot of pictures I've seen previously made it look like it was all one bland color. He's actually got quite a bit of detail on him. Anyway, so you take this piece at the light gray piece and rotate it around so this piece ends up on the back of the arm. And now, and this is the part I think is neat, because to form the arms, you're basically doing the exact same mechanism that the first edition did for the legs, in which you take this long piece, you pull his hand up, and then you flip it around, and there's a little clip right here that clips on to this side of the plastic. You just clip it on like that, and flip his hand down. Just like that, and do the same on this side. Clip it around, clip it on. Oh, forgot to rotate it around like that. You clip that on, bring the arm down, and then you just fold the windshields, or not the windshields, the windows down against his arm. And there you have him in robot mode. His elbows are a little weird, and again, his arms... Okay, this should be staying tight. There we go. His arms are a little... The elbows are a little weird, and the arms are hollow, much like the legs, just due to transformation. But all in all, he's a nice squat Cliffjumper. He feels very sturdy and powerful, and I quite like him. The light piping on his eyes, which I can't quite get to work here, is really nice. He's got some really vibrant blue eyes when you get some light shining behind him. And all in all, and again, Yes, he has a fake chest, but it stays open at the proper split, and it's a little bit more in proportion to how he's to how he's supposed to look over the first edition. So yes, there is some cheating involved to make him look the way he does, whereas the first edition actually uses the windshield. But like I said before, there's some advantages to this as well. It's got the proper split here. It's a little bit wider than here, and it's hard to get this to stay even with this. It's not painted. I mean, the black's painted on, but it's not painted over clear plastic, this red, so there's less likely of it chipping during transformation, and you don't have to worry about the shades matching. Like I said, this Cliffjumper, this one's a little darker just because the paint isn't quite as thick on this, so that blue plastic is making this look darker than this side. And I think just the proportions of the chest and abdomen area are a little bit better on this one. Yes, the elbows are a little weird, and again, the first edition does have the show accurate. We saw him use the triple barrel guns that you can flip his hand around and have the triple barrel guns. The RiD comes with a hammer gun. You can either have him hold it like a gun like this, and you can even, in vehicle mode, you can have it pegged onto the roof of the car or into that peg on the side. Or he can hold it like a hammer. And I kind of like it. Like I said, when he's got the giant mace, hammer, axe thing, I just think he just looks cool. He just looks like he just looks like a squat bruiser the way I feel a Cliffjumper should look. So yeah, they both have their strengths and weaknesses. The Robots in Disguise one is far less of a quote unquote fail figure than I was previously led to believe. I'm glad I took the chance on him. I mostly wanted to get him for the hammer so I could have him hold the hammer because I like the hammer mace. And I gotta say, I think if I had to grab one to carry around with me and play with, it would be the Robots in Disguise one. Partly because who knows if we're going to get any more first editions. I don't want to break it. But like, I just think, overall, I think he looks a little better. He's actually got more paint apps than you think. He's got the silver face. This whole area right here is painted. The windows, the upper shoulders, the silver knees. You know, like, there's a lot more detail on him than pictures initially made it look. And, like I said, I wish he had the tri-barrel gun. Although if you wait for the Japanese version, he's going to come with a Targetmaster that turns into a tri-barrel gun. So that's going to be kind of cool too. I'm looking for it. I've got like pretty much the entire Micron Arms series pre-ordered now, just for those Minicons or Targetmasters or whatever they're going to call them. So yeah, it's up to you to decide which one you want. Personally, I think that like I said, they both have their strengths. I agree. It would have been nice to see some of this. The lighter gray plastic on him be more of this colored gray soft plastic, just slightly darker. I think would have been a huge improvement on the look of this figure. But it really is very nice. It's much more interesting, and again, the transformation's fun. Just like Wheeljack, just the process of getting there I think is a lot more fun on him. It's certainly a lot less frustrating, especially when it comes to the chest. So yeah, it really is up to you to decide which one you want. And if you want the first edition, believe me, I understand why you'd want the first edition over this Robots in Disguise one. But don't just give up on the Robots in Disguise one sight unseen, because it really is quite actually a nice little figure. And I do have an extra one, so I'll be giving that one away at some point, probably on Twitter, just because I find that's just a whole lot easier now. But whatever, we'll there will be an extra Robots in Disguise Cliffjumper. Somebody will get a free shot to check him out sometime in the coming days. So yeah, there you go. Now let's do some quick size comparisons. Obviously, there he is with his first edition counterpart. Here he is with RC, and I think that's actually supposed to be a little bit closer to their scale together. I think RC's supposed to be a little taller than him. I could be wrong on that. I just, from what I remember seeing in pictures, I think she's supposed to be a little taller, even though that doesn't really make sense for the motorcycle to be taller than the car, but whatever. So there he is with Starscream. There he is with jumping up and taking out a group of Viacons. Granted, there's only just one here. But, there he is going up against a Viacon. Pleading for his life against Starscream. No. And again, I think that even works. You just have him kneeling down before, doing your master's dirty work, Starscream. I'll never bow before you. Well, I am bowing before you, but you know what I mean. So there's that. Go ahead and get him stood up again. Ah, come on. Come on, forget about it. Here he is with Bulkhead, just because I like showing off Bulkhead. He's cool. Dun, 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 dun. Here he is with his previous Minicon compatriot, or Mini-Bot compatriot Bumblebee, and here he is a little shorter. The first edition does scale, I think, a little bit better with Bumblebee. But that's not too bad together. Here he is with Wheeljack. And they're about the same height. Wheeljack's a little taller. I think that's everybody I have to show him off with. So yeah, like I said, don't knock him, because he actually is better than you would imagine. I know I was very, very pleasantly surprised. Like I said, I knew I was going to get him. I picked him up because I wanted the mace. And I figured he didn't look too bad. I'd check him out and give him a shot. And I really am glad I did, because like I said, I think if I had to choose between... If I could only have one of the two of these, I don't know. I really think I'd be leaning more toward this guy. One caveat, I'm really looking forward to seeing how Japan paints him, because I think that would make a huge difference. I think that could finally be what pushes him completely over the edge. And that's nothing against the first edition. Like I said, they're both good, solid figures, and they both have their pluses and minuses. But I think just for a fun toy, I got to give it to the Robots in Disguise.